Hello everyone, and welcome to JenTalk 2. We're going to talk about how you plan for your proposal. So what, first of all, is a research proposal? This is the step before you conduct data collection and analyzing your results. Before you do all of that work that you'll be focused on, you need to do this step. I find that a lot of times when students are in this class, they are thinking so much about collecting their data and doing the research and analyzing the results that they forget that the proposal is absolutely critical before they get to that stage. In our research methods and design class, we will not do data collection and analyze the results. We will just write the proposal. So this is the meat of your course. A proposal is a request to complete unique empirical research. So unique meaning your own research, unlike any other research that has already been conducted out there in the literature. Now, sometimes you replicate research, but you replicate it for a purpose that is still empirical to validate existing results or to replicate it with a new and unique or different population. And of course, as we talked about in JenTalk 1, it's a focus on empirical research. Research that you are going to do the actual data collection and analysis on, but first you have to request to do that work. It's a recipe. You're going to hear this analogy from me throughout the entire course. You're writing a recipe. My husband also told me it's just like writing plays in a playbook, but when I tried to work that analogy, and I've never been a coach, and I don't know that much about plays, I wasn't as good at it. So I'm going to go with recipe, and I think everyone here has followed a recipe before. Your proposal is your recipe, and every single item that you need in that recipe has to be included in the proposal. Can you complete a recipe if you do not have a complete list of the ingredients? I will constantly be asking you, how are we going to do that? What do we need for that? What is the item that we'll do this with? You need every single thing spelled out in a proposal. There's no such thing as they should be able to read between the lines or isn't it obvious? I don't need to say that. In fact, you need to say everything. Even if it feels like you're talking down to your audience, you need to provide every single detail. Even within the instruments, if you're going to have people help you, or even if you're going to do it yourself, observe people's behavior or engage in interviews, the instrument not only lists the questions, but also lists things that they need to be watching for, how they may want to frame the question, what they don't want to do, etc. So every single thing that anyone needs to think about needs to be in that recipe or research proposal. Can you complete a recipe if you have a list of ingredients but no step-by-step instructions? Imagine baking bread or a cake or cupcakes or something like that. If someone told you you need yeast, flour, water, 2 eggs, etc., and gave you the list of ingredients but didn't tell you the order that they need to be combined, how they need to be combined in 2 or 3 separate bowls or all in one bowl, to what extent they need to be combined. Do they need to sit for a while? Do you need to do something with them before you put them in the oven? Is there different cooking instructions? What's the temperature at which they need to cook at? If you don't have that list of instructions, a list of items is not enough. You also need step-by-step instructions. Even if you feel like you're talking down to someone, every single step has to be in your research proposal. Assume the reader knows absolutely nothing. A good research proposal can be completed by anyone who picks up your research after your proposal is approved and funded. What I want you to imagine, and I'll say this to you often as well, is if you were to win the lottery tomorrow and take off for Tahiti, leaving everything behind, did you provide enough in your research proposal for me, one of your colleagues, someone at work, a grad student, anyone, to pick up your proposal and say, okay, they haven't started yet, we start here, let's just follow this recipe, follow the map, follow the playbook, and we can complete it? Is everything in there for them to do it? Are there any assumptions that they had to be able to make or things that they had to read between the lines? If not, you have a solid research proposal. What are the parts of a research proposal? There are essentially 8 parts of a research proposal. And in your proposal assignments, I have broken them up into several assignments so that you can complete your parts of your proposal in a order that makes sense. You might be surprised to learn that the order that makes sense is not the order in which you will see them listed here below. You have a title page. Seems obvious. You should get used to creating your title page from the onset and keeping that ready always. Your title may change. Your name may change for all I know. But having that title page ready is a good idea for every submission. You'll write an abstract. You will not write this until the very end. It's one of the last steps that you engage in. An abstract provides an overview in one paragraph or so to your research proposal. You can't possibly know what that overview will be until you're done writing the whole proposal. A table of contents. All proposals will have a table of contents. I encourage students to include them early on and just start adding to the table of contents, but it's not required. You will need to make sure that you have that at the end. Chapter 1, the introduction. This chapter describes everything that is to come in your proposal, and this is also where you make the argument that what you're doing is compelling and important overall. You'll get into the details of why in the next chapter, but the introduction is the chapter that people need to read and say, oh my gosh, this is so important. This is research that needs to be done, and I understand generally why they're proposing to do it, and generally speaking, how they plan on doing it. I do want to read more to hear how they're going to do it specifically and decide if I want to approve or fund this project. Chapter 2 is your literature review. Most of what you've done as an undergraduate and graduate student so far are research papers that were really literature reviews. A review of everything that's out there specific to your topic. This will really be the meat of your proposal. It will probably be the longest chapter in your proposal. And the literature review will be the first thing we do after you've decided upon a topic. Your research methods is the chapter 3. This is a critical chapter. This is really the recipe part of it. Chapters 1 and 2 compel people to want to bake your bread and explain to them why this bread is the perfect bread for you to be baking or for them to be baking. Chapter 3 tells them exactly how to bake that bread. So again, with the recipe analogy, the how is in the chapter 3. So when you look at a recipe, you may first read why this is a yummy thing. Maybe it's low in calorie, it tastes great, it's good for a family meal, it's good if you like Greek food or Italian or Indian. The literature review is the part where you describe all of the items that will be in there. And the research methods or chapter 3 is the how-to. That's where they go step by step on exactly what you need to do and how so that it comes out properly. Of course, there will be references. We're doing everything in APA style, so they are called references. You should start keeping track of those at the onset. And the last item is appendices, if applicable. And I will say that 95% of the students do have appendices. Anything that serves as an instrument or a graph or a chart that they refer to that doesn't fit within the text of the paper will be in the appendices. Most students have anywhere from 2 to 5 appendices, sometimes more, at the end of their paper. One of the reasons why these papers tend to get to be over 100 pages in length. The references, which are usually between 25 and 100 references, and the appendices, which can be multiple pages long, especially if you're drawing an instrument from an already existing tool. Formatting and the process of a proposal. We're going to use APA. In the human services and social sciences, we use APA. Start with the topic you can realistically tackle. We've already had that conversation. Once you have your topic, you're ready to start diving into your proposal. You're going to write everything in the future tense. A proposal is proposing to do something someday that you hope to have the opportunity to do if it is approved and if it's funded. So everything is written in the future tense. The researchers will. The project aims to. The study aims to. The investigators plan on, etc. All of it is in future tense. Consider your research purpose, your research questions, and your hypotheses. These will be part of your introduction. First, research and write the literature review. That will be your first major assignment after we've selected a topic. That's chapter 2. You may go back and add things to it. It's not uncommon at all when people write a master's thesis or a doctoral dissertation or any kind of serious research proposal that they keep finding sources. You become so in tune with what's going on in that area that you find a source, find a place to integrate it, and add it to your overall proposal. Keep track of your references along the way. It's a big mistake not to maintain a references list. When I write, I actually do my references page separate and I merge it at the end by just copying and pasting it when I'm done with the proposal. But I keep a running references page in APA and I just keep attaching my references in alphabetical order. I don't worry if I'm perfectly doing them in APA. I'll fix that at the end. But to have to type all of them in at the very end and possibly to miss some is problematic. So just keep track of them all the way through. You're probably going to have between 20 and 50 references just in Chapter 2. Include your title page. It's just a good practice to have a title page. Your title may change, the date on it will change, maybe the formatting will change as you get closer to the end and you notice how you think you should or would like to format it. But if you start always having a title page, then you will be in good shape at the end. Those little details that seem like they'll be quick to finish will feel time consuming when you get to submitting your final proposal and you're dead because you've been writing for days and days. Do the easy stuff up front so that you can save yourself some time. Reconsider the purpose, the problem, and your research questions and hypotheses after you complete Chapter 2. So first, we're going to talk about your topic, and you're going to think about what your problem is, the statement of the problem, and your purpose of your research. It might modify or might be modified as you do your literature review and learn new things, learn that some of the assumptions or hypotheses that you had are not correct, or you may find a gap in the literature that had not occurred to you that you really want to include or change your focus towards. So reconsider what you thought you were going to do after you complete your literature review, either for minor modifications or for significant modifications if you think it's important. If you're going to change your topic significantly, make sure you run it past your instructor before you move forward. Now you write your recipe. After your literature review is done and you're comfortable with the direction that you're heading, you write your methods section, not the introduction. Remember, the introduction has to give an overview or a summary of why this is important, the literature that's already been done, including the theories and the other research that's been completed on the topic, and it also has to give an overview of that recipe. Well, you can't give an overview of the recipe until you've outlined the recipe. So we're still not doing Chapter 1 or the introduction. The next major step is that methods chapter or Chapter 3 of your proposal. After that, you write your introduction, then sleep a little bit, read it again, and try to quickly pound out an abstract. An abstract is that elevator message, the one paragraph, oh, what's your proposal on? Well, here's why, here's what I'm doing, and here's generally how, in about 100 words. Some abstracts are longer, but oftentimes journals require that it be 100 words or less, so aim for 100. If it gets a little bit longer for our class purposes, that's fine, but keep in mind 100 is ideal. Finally, you'll add the appendices, and you'll edit and submit your proposal. The next steps and proposal purposes. What's the point in writing a research proposal? A lot of times, after delving deeply into this, students start saying, why am I even doing this? And why are we learning to do this in this program? First of all, if you ever want to do this research or any kind of research, you need to gain permission for your proposed study. You'll have to go through an institutional review board. If you're part of a university program like you are with this course, Assistive Tech Human Services Research Design and Methodology, you'd go through CSUN's Institutional Review Board or the IRB. The IRB reviews proposals to make sure that they are complete, that the proposal provides all the details one would need to complete the research, and that they have looked at all of the human subjects' concerns or animal subjects when that's relevant in order to be approved. Ethics and human subjects are the most important step in the proposal process, from my opinion. Medical research, social research, all kinds of research has been conducted in the past that has not taken into account how the research experience may affect participants, how it may harm participants, how it may potentially emotionally affect them. In fact, some research has been conducted, which we'll talk about in our course, that misleads participants. And for this reason today, no legitimate research is completed without a proposal being passed by an institutional review board at a major university or at an institution like the Center for Disease Control, CDC, or the National Institute for Health. Some of your employers may have institutional review boards. If they do not, and you're using human subjects and you'd like this to be publishable and potentially peer-reviewed research, you can run your proposal by an institutional review board at a local university like CSUN. Also, if you're doing research and you are affiliated with a different university and you're going to use university resources there, for example, in the past I had a student at the University of Texas, you would want to run your research by that institutional review board. You need institutional, business, or organization approval to complete your research. So much like a business plan, if you're going to move forward starting a business or starting a program or project within a business, your proposal is setting out, explaining what you're going to do and why and how to the institution in which you're doing it, for the business that you're doing it, or the organization. Many of you will choose to do program evaluations, and to do those kinds of evaluations, you would need to do a proposal for your organization or business before you move forward. Also, completing proposals for research heighten your ability to consume and understand journal articles featuring empirical research. It's critical to be able to understand them and to see them from a different perspective once you've done it yourself, so that you can really understand why they're discussing things like statistical significance and the accuracy of correlations, etc. When you've done this, you will understand why those kinds of articles are deemed more valuable than general opinion articles and essays, for example. Grant proposal work. Many of you will already do work in, or will go on to work in organizations in which they would like to initiate new projects, new programs, new initiatives. To do that, you need to write a grant proposal. The pieces that go into a grant proposal are very similar, sometimes identical, to those in a research proposal. This will get you ready for those. Will we do our research in this class? I've already answered it, but I'm going to answer it again because it's a very common question, and a lot of times students are freaking out because they think they need to write the proposal and do the research and analyze the results in our 12 or 13-week class. No, we're not doing the research. You're just writing the proposal. Now, that may be relieving. You realize, okay, I just have to say what I'm going to do. I don't have to do it. But it's still a big, big part of the project. In fact, if a proposal is written well, the rest of the research, the data collection and the analysis and the reporting is easy because you've got a recipe to follow. The proposal is the most lengthy, most complex part of most research, unless you're doing longitudinal research. If you don't know what longitudinal research is, don't worry, we'll talk about it later. And even in the case of longitudinal research, data collection and analysis and reporting tends to be easier than the proposal writing. The proposal writing is critical so that you can lay the groundwork for a solid